We're recording.
Clara is with us. Excellent.
Great.
Hello.
Clara is with us, but Krista is not.
Oh,
So-
Krista just joined.
Yes, I'll be here as much as I can be. I have we had an unexpected, anyway, well, timing conflict on childcare, and I have a board meeting to leave for at 5:30, but very glad to be here till then.
Okay, we may rearrange things in order to accommodate that.
Yes, it's a bit loud.
Yeah, it's a bit loud.
You guys can get on that. I'm going deaf and it's loud.
Is it loud back there? It's loud back there too. So let's at least kick it off and get started and see where we get to, because Suzette tells me that we need to clear out board meeting at 5 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. This is 5 o'clock. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do in the next hour. First off, I'm going to welcome everybody, which I've kind of been doing as you came through the door. It's one of the things I love about a small town. Just say hi. And we're going to give you an update on the initiative that is underway to bring fiber optic broadband internet to all of Lubec. Not just the hill downtown and 189, but all the roads in Lubec. It's very exciting. We're going to do some introductions of the team members that have been working on this for a while. Talk a little bit about why on earth do we want broadband internet anyway? What good is it? What's it going to do for us, both as people and as the town? And we have visiting speakers. Yes, this evening we have Miles Smith from the Maine Broadband Coalition. Miles. We have Krista Thorpe from the Island Institute on Zoom. We have Clara McCool and from the Maine Broadband Coalition also. And we have Mark Willett from Axiom. They're out there in Etherland smiling at us from the box. And we'll talk about money. What are the next steps? What are we going to do for money? Both Mark and the folks from Maine Broadband Coalition are well up on where the money is, what's out there, and how do we go about getting it, which of course we want to do, right? Which of course we want to do for Lubec, because there's no way, God's no greener, we can pay for all this ourselves. That's why we're doing it now, because the money is out there and available from the federal government. Maine Broadband Coalition is supporting us, Island Institute is supporting us, and we'll be working with Axiom to make it all happen. So this is not something that your committee of gray-haired ladies dreamed up as we were meeting in the back office of the town office in Lubec. This is something that is a national, state and national initiative that Lubec would be fortunate to be part of. And then we'll have a Q&A. And we'll have a Q&A for as long as we can until Suzette says, that's it.
I was told that they were also going to have on the agenda tonight, Trescott and Edmonds.
I can give you the short answer on Trescott and Edmonds, which is that we would love to have you join us. At this point, the unorganized territories, towns, have not spoken up and said they wanted to be part of this. In order to do that, you have to get the county to say yes and to come on board. You have to go through all of the planning and background work that Lubec has been doing. After several efforts to make that happen, Lubec said, train's leaving the station. We would love to have you come with us. But it's going to be up to people like you, and I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Diane Griffith.
Diane Griffith. It's going to be up to folks like you to push it in your area. If we can get a regional thing going on this, that would be fabulous.
If you would nag, and I mean nag, Dean Preston, it would help.
Okay.
He holds all the key.
Yep.
It's not.
And if he doesn't respond, call Betsy Fitzgerald.
Rachel, yes, over here.
It's
Go ahead.
just, I'm interested too, and I came to a prior meeting where I asked enough questions that I walked away thinking it was too daunting for Trescott, but I still kept up with it. But now there's more people have bubbled up that are interested, and
You can
And
get
I
on,
don't
you can
think-
get on board well down the way. I mean, you know,
and I just in terms of Diane, just in terms of calling Preston, I have talked to him briefly, and I'll talk to him some more, but he's very clear about what his job description is, and this is not part of it.
Although he, at the same time, will talk to Mark Willett and say, 100% behind you.
And yeah, you can be behind it without wanting to do it.
Yeah.
okay.
And so all I'm saying is it's.
So
don't
maybe
just
you
go-
two ladies should get together and talk.
Yeah, we can, and there are others of us too, and that's what I think we need to do is get together and figure out our strategy.
For plan.
For Trescott.
Good.
Yeah, well, Rachel.
Now, Rachel. Okay, let me talk about the committee members who have been working on this. As you may already have gathered, I already know, Rachel Rubior has been talking about broadband and fiber internet since
5
15
years.
And there was a group that got together then, tried to move things forward. That didn't quite make it, kind of disbanded, but now we have money. Now we have, finally, the state and the federal government have caught up with Rachel, and they're gonna give us some money. So this is the time to be doing this. So we have on the committee myself, Renee Gray, who is our town manager, Rachel Rubior, Nancy Harrison, Ben Levick, and Rhonda Welcome. That also,
And Denise.
and Denise.
Right, I fly below the
Denise!
radar.
You know, every time I do this, I swear I leave somebody out of it, Denise. And then beyond that, we have a lot of people who have signed up to be interested influencers, helpers, members of the public who, such as Jen Liston, who want to get our mailings as we send them out. And we're happy to do that. We include our minutes, any good news we get, that sort of thing. We publish that quickly. I do in an email. And we have 15 to 20 people now on that list, on that mailing list. So many helpers, many who helped make this move forward tonight. So what's happened so far? So far, the Economic Development Committee has morphed itself into the Broadband Fiber Optic Network Initiative Committee. After talking about how we might make use of the funds that are available, how we might push this forward, we talked with a number of services that are out there. We then came back to the board and we put out an RFP, request for proposals. That request for proposal was answered by several, some more fully than others. The one who spoke to us initially and who responded to the RFP most completely and in the manner in which we were hoping to build this network was Mark Willett from Axiom, which goes along with our hopes because Axiom is local. They're in Machias. So we're looking forward to moving forward with Axiom. We accepted the proposal from Axiom. We have not signed a contract with them yet, but that's coming about the same point that we start getting money so that we can start doing some work. We've had 3 informational meetings prior to this one. This being our 4th. We have started putting a lot of the information that we've gathered, including the FAQ and that information sheet that seems to be a couple of them left back. Those are all now on the Town of Lubec website. You go into the menu, go to broadband, there's a whole section of our stuff. We're putting our minutes out there now. of the meetings, so you can keep up, know what's going on, know what we're fussing about, know what we're hoping to do next. We also had the annual town meeting. That was a big night. After much discussion of Article 61 on the warrant, the town voted to allow the select board to move forward with funding. Therefore, we will be applying for a grant. We can get smaller grants, we can get smaller loans. We worded it so that we can fund this as we need to as we go forward. Hello, Nancy. Hey. What's next? The next big thing is the main connectivity authority grant. I've been talking about Connect Maine Authority and the Maine Connectivity Authority. They've melded. So whether you say Connect Maine or Maine Connectivity, you're talking about the same crowd now. Because of the federal funding, they set up the state authority, and the two have come together to make this happen all across Maine and to dispense the grants from the federal and state government. We will be applying in the next round of grants, and Mark Willett, who happens to be face up on the screen at the moment, is going to tell us more about that in a little bit. We've gotten smaller grants. We're looking at grants from the Island Institute. We've got ARPA funds, the federal government money that goes to all the towns. So what I think I want you to hear here is we're not spending your tax dollars, honest. We're getting grant money for all of the upfront work to the extent that we can. We're going to get the largest grant coming that we'll apply for in October. And eventually we'll have to get a matching note to go with that, but that will be paid by the subscribers. This is a tax neutral grant. The next thing that happens once we have money is the mapping and the pole licensing. This takes time. No, you can't sign up next week. Sorry, Coffin's Neck. Sorry, Straight Day. It's going to be a little while. The estimate is it will be close to 2 years from when we get funding before it will reach all of the outlying points. As I say, first we have to find out where the poles are, find out where the people are, find out where the types of services are, mapping. Then we have to go through pole licensing, through consolidated, to get permission to put the fiber optic cable on all of those poles throughout Lubec. Then we can start the build out once we get the permission and the licensing. We are also reaching out to consultants, looking for engineering help to work with us to represent the town's interests through all of this. Those of us on the committee are kind of recognizing what we don't know. Other communities we've talked to have highly recommended this, and we will probably do likewise. We've interviewed several, and we'll be having to do an RFP shortly for that. We're also doing some looking around marketing folks to help us with the outreach to get subscribers, so that we may not have to have Martha doing PowerPoint posters to stick up in windows, but we'll have some really nice stuff to do mailings and to help us with the outreach. We're also reaching out to local stakeholders, that being the school, the hospital, businesses, groups in town. The single page handout that's back there, we've been giving that out as widely as we can to every group in town, hoping that you'll invite us to come and talk to you about what's going on, what's happening, how we can help, and how you can help us. And finally, keeping all of you informed. This is the fourth meeting. It is not the last. We'll be doing lots more of these as we go forward. We want to be sure as many people as possible in town know about this. We want to go to your group meetings. Heck, I'll come to Trescott. You get me a group, I'll come talk. As my committee members know, it's something I just do. So, Mark Willett, you still out there?
I am. Can you hear me?
We
Yes.
can hear you. I just put a slide up, Mark, if you can see it, that says Axiom, Mark Willett, the Maine Connectivity Authority grant. Could you take a few minutes and tell us a little bit about who you are and what Axiom is, and then this next monster step we have coming?
Yep. My name's Mark Willett. I'm the CEO of Axiom. Axiom, as many of you may know, is a longtime internet provider in Washington County. We're a company that was started by a gal named Susan Corbett. She is still the founder and a majority owner of Axiom, but she is no longer in the day-to-day operations of Axiom, and I've taken over that role over the last few years. Happy to be working with Lou Beck. We worked through an RFP process to get to where we are today with the town. And we are going to be potentially, hopefully, if all goes well, the operator of the broadband system once it's installed. We will also likely very much be the general contractor for the construction of the project once it gets approved. And we have had a lot of success with federal and state grant dollars. Right now, I have 10 communities that are under contract with Axiom that is about $21 million in sorry, somebody's calling me. Sorry, I can't do two things at once. Shut that off. About $20 million in projects, of which we've been able to attract about 14 million in grant funding, either from the state or the federal government. So we've had quite a success, and we're looking forward to the next round, which of the Maine Connectivity Authority. The guidance for Maine Connectivity Authority on the next round has not been fully articulated or sent out to providers who are planning on applying. We expect that to happen essentially any day, sometime in early October. And that at some point after that, hopefully in October, they would open up a grant round and we would be applying through that process. We got a little bit of rumor, and we've had Axiom has had long conversations with MCA about what the components of the grant round will look like. So we feel like we have a pretty good idea of what is expected in the latest grant round. And we have most of all of the elements already built of what we're going to need for that grant when we apply. And so in the last round, we were successful. We applied for 3 grants, and we were awarded all 3 grants last round. You as a town have some advantages that will make you very likely to receive a grant. The first is that you are rural and not completely served. You have a good portion of your community that is unserved or considered underserved. Second, you are going to be a municipally owned system that advantages you and gives you additional points. And so you'll have additional weight on those on that application, and you'll be one of only a few communities that are applying, because really Axiom's pretty much the only game in town applying for community-owned projects, helping communities apply for community-owned projects. And you are going to be one of 3 projects that we are working with in the next round. So and I guess I'd say the fourth point is many communities are not ready to apply, and therefore are going to be looking at future rounds. And I believe that you being ready to apply in this round will also advantage you, because there will not be as many competitive projects being applied for in this round. So we're excited to be working with you, excited to be working with your broadband team, and we love your when we are excited to be working with the town, Renee, and the townsfolk around this project. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yes, very much, Mark. Thank you. We'd love to have you hang around if you're wanting to answer your call and depart, then we understand that too. The next that comes up is why are we doing this? But boom, 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 Krista Thorpe. Because Krista Thorpe has other things to do.
Yeah.
Internet, Krista, hello.
Yeah, hello, here. I'll
There
say
she
hi.
is.
I had ended up with my guy this time of year. So Gil, say hi to everybody. Hi. He's having his supper. Just wanted to thank the committee and the town for your application for an Island Institute planning grant. It was Renee asked the question, remind us, last meeting that Island Institute joined, you said that Lubec is the first to do something. I had commented that you're really one of the pioneers and first committees and communities to go into your grant seeking process with a mindset of needing a real strategy around marketing and communications and community engagement. And that's something we've heard from communities all over the state. So your planning grant application to Island Institute kind of came in at a great time as Maine Broadband Coalition has a new executive director on board you'll be hearing more from. And there's really a desire to see the Maine Broadband Coalition be able to support communities like Lubec, especially communities taking on this big project of bringing universal fiber via a municipally owned network. We recognize there are some needs for education and communication and marketing to move that project forward and to, as Mark indicated, allow you to make most use of, be most competitive for the upcoming grant round, and even beyond the hopeful grant award, be able to share the news with all members of your community and get a good take rate on the service. So Island Institute wants to support your application and your process. We will be awarding the grant, but we'll be awarding it kind of in two chunks. $3,000 directly to the town of Lubec for your budgeted mailing costs, advertising costs, administration, just supporting that on the ground work that's already happening and will be happening in the coming months. And then for the marketing consultant request, rather than having your committee take the time to go through an RFP process and select that right consultant, we'd like to align that with work at the Maine Broadband Coalition and have MBC basically provide that marketing and communication support with the assistance of a consultant. So that will be up to $12,000, and it'll make it for, make it less of a heavy lift on Lubec's side, but more of a collaboration with MBC so that the materials created, the strategy, the marketing strategy created will benefit other towns across the whole state that are trying to do the same thing. So very excited about that. And Renee will receive the formal award letter either this evening or tomorrow morning. So.
Wonderful, thank you.
It's got a little scene
You
stealer.
must know that all movie stars say that what you don't want to do is appear with pets and babies.
Child.
You have a beautiful child. Thank you so much for that information. And we look forward to doing exactly as you're saying.
Thank you.
And I'll
Thank you. And
turn it over to Mark.
I'm so jealous that I don't have a baby next to me to gather everyone's attention and affection. My 5-year-old is pretty cute, but quite that cute. Maine Broadband Coalition will be working with the town of Lubec to help figure out how to get the word out, inform your community about the project that you're doing, how to get the word out to potential subscribers so you can figure out the economics of this project and make sure, as Martha says, that it's cost efficient for the subscribers of the project. So congratulations to that. That's great news. Another example of folks coming together to support these projects. It's not just you alone. The whole state's working on this, and that's why I'm here. So my name's not on this. This is the first time I'm doing this presentation alone, so you'll bear with me. This is week 5 for me. My name is Miles Smith from the Maine Broadband Coalition. We are a nonprofit organization that works to educate and inform the state of Maine about the potential impact of broadband and help bring broadband to the whole state. We are not a state agency. We are an independent nonprofit. Our board consists of some small Maine-based internet service providers, not Axiom, but others like it. Includes some economic development councils, regional planning organizations, those types of things, as well as some nonprofit organizations in telehealth and education, where they really need to have better broadband internet going to homes, going to people so that they can provide their services remotely. Okay, so what we do is 3 things. First, we advocate for great broadband, great internet getting to all Mainers. And we have a set of guiding values that guide us in what we advocate for. That includes things like affordability. That includes things like leaving no Mainer behind. That includes things like having choice and having good options for people. So Maine Broadband Coalition in the years before I joined did a lot of work to get the state to invest in broadband, and there was important investments from Connect Maine Authority that started supporting this project and started working with Maine Broadband Coalition, the Island Institute, and others. Now we have this huge amount of federal money coming that through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Jobs Act that was approved earlier this year, which means hundreds of millions of dollars is coming to Maine to try to connect all Mainers. Now, it's not enough to do everybody for free, so there needs to be some way that the state figures out which projects are we going to help support, which ones need some private investment from companies like Axiom, which communities will need particular amounts of subsidy or support, which ones are commercially viable and don't need the kind of grants and public money to be spent for them. But having listened to what Mark said, just based on my understanding of this ecosystem, I agree with everything that Mark said. I think that Lubec is in a good position if it goes now, because there's a lot of momentum in these towns, particularly in Washington County, to apply for these funds. And as Maine Broadband Coalition goes out to the rest of the state and teaches other towns how they can get access to these funds, then there might be more competition. So you are in a pretty good position right now. But that is the decision of the Maine Connectivity Authority, the quasi-state agency. They make all the funding decisions. So it's ultimately going to be up to them to figure out how to prioritize different towns and all these needs that they have. The other things that we do is we work with a community of practice, other broadband experts and volunteers, or members of economic development corporations. We work with Elaine Abbott at Sunrise. I'm going to get the name wrong. Thank you. By week 6, I'll have that down perfectly. Thank you.
No, you won't. I still love it every time.
Great. That's something that I have a couple more weeks to get right. So we're working with folks like Elaine Abbott and others in other counties who are working with each town within the county to try to figure out how they can either put towns together, put projects together, work together to help each other to get through this process. I was in a big meeting yesterday in Lincoln County in Wisconsin. We had, I think, 18 different town officials or broadband committee officials or members of select committees that were all together talking about each of their projects to get together broadband. Some are doing them as a group of towns, some of them are doing them individually. So that's one of the important functions of Maine Broadband Coalition, and my colleagues Krista and Clara and Joe, who are on this call, have been doing a lot of those calls with me as well. And they're teaching me. I get to talk now, so it sounds like I know what I'm talking about. And then when you ask me questions later, we'll find out if I really have learned that much or not. Okay. Get going quickly here. So other things that we do is we try to advocate for good policies that support all of our great values, like, for instance, making sure that you have a chance to attach your fiber optic cable to poles that might be owned by a private company, and that that we have fair access to those poles by folks who aren't the owners of those poles, as an example. We have good laws on the books in the state of Maine compared to other states, thanks to some of the good work of Maine Broadband Coalition in past years. And there's Elaine. So in this county, Elaine Abbott has been kind of the first point of contact for a lot of these works. She's actually on a call right now. Actually, she was on a call with Jonesport. She's going on a call with Eastport with their broadband committees, where they're doing similar things to work on building it out for their region. And here in the coastal areas, we also have the Island Institute, which has a ton of capacity in this area. So there's a lot of support for these types of projects. You aren't doing this alone. This is something that the whole state is working on, and we really appreciate when there is such great community support, and there are volunteers in the town who are working for it. A couple of other things that we do. One thing that's important is we do speed testing. So throughout the state, there are many different providers of internet, and they make claims about the quality, stability, and speed of their service, which may or may not be true. Now, when the state asks the federal government to help Maine to connect everybody, they need good data to say which parts of the state need better connectivity, which parts of the state are underserved or unserved, as Mark was saying. And the better data we have about the quality of connections that you have in your homes, the more funding we can get from the federal government to support grants to build out projects like the one that we're talking about here in Lubec. So on the cards that I've handed out, there's a QR code. You take a picture of it with your phone. It will send you to a site where you can do a speed test, either for your cell phone service or for the service at your home. It's right on the landing page of our website, mainebroadbandcoalition.org. I would encourage you, if you haven't done it yet, do the speed test at your house, and tell your friends, tell your neighbors to do the speed test at their house, because the more folks we have, and we've had over 40,000 Mainers take these tests, the more folks we have who are showing what quality internet they're really getting at their homes, the more likely we are to get more support for your projects and to make sure that these are tax neutral projects whenever possible. Okay. And I'll be around to help navigate to that if you have any questions. Here's the map of the speed test. Green dots indicate faster internet service was found, and red dots indicate slower internet service was found. You can see a lot of red dots in Washington County right now. That's part of the reason why we're here. So you can email me anytime. I am currently the only employee of Maine Broadband Coalition, though we have a number of other collaborators at other organizations, like Krista, who spoke earlier. So we are a big tent coalition, even if it's only me holding the tent pole up, there are other people in the tent with me. And if you have any questions, I'll be here until the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Now can you ready up to mine?
I can.
See, that's why he's the talented guy. Okay, I'm gonna back up. Just to this slide quickly. Yeah, we have a few minutes more. I'm just gonna read right down this. I don't want to talk about it because I want to open it up to questions. But broadband fiber is where it's going for internet. It's the most reliable, it's the strongest, it's the most scalable in the ability to grow as our needs grow. We need it in Lubec, whether it's at home or at work. We need it for our businesses to thrive and for new businesses to come. That's why the Economic Development Committee is so interested in this. We need it for education for our young folks and our old folks. online internet education is, as I'm sure you know, the way it's going. We don't want our kids, the next time the school closes down, to have to sit out in front of Lions Variety or down in front of the library in order to get internet. We want them to have it in their home. The other end of the population in Maine and Washington County particularly, look around the room. Everybody has the same color as mine, except for him. I want to stay here until they carry me out with my toes up. And the way to do that is to have good telehealth, to be able to call my doctor instead of having to have somebody drive me to Bangor, to be able to do an internet interface with medical people. That's huge for a rural community like this. So, having said that, pushing the button. I want to have you ask us questions, ask me, ask Miles, ask Mark. When you do go home, run your speed test. Let me say that again. Run your speed test. We want to know how slow is it out on Straight Bay. We want to know how fast is it on top of the hills in the back. Because that's how we find out who's underserved and who really isn't served at all. Sign up as a free subscriber. We're going to have kind of two levels going forward. Go to the town office, get your name on the list as interested in possibly maybe we think signing up. That helps us when we go for money. See, we've got our town with us. They're interested. They want to do this. So come put your name on the dotted line. We aren't asking for money yet. We'll ask for that down the road. You can beg out later if you need to. But help us out by putting your name on the list now. And then we're offering digital literacy classes. There's assistance for subscribers. There's some information about that in the FAQs. Okay, I'm now going to be more quiet and have you raise your hands. Yes.
I have two questions. One of them has to do with, first of all, this is a very practical question. Say, run the speed test. Well, up until about, 2 weeks ago, our speed test would have been dismal because we had the hamster in a cage from Usenet, satellite. We were able to get Trail Runner to, and it's like night and day. So right now, if I said, oh, my speed is terrific, you don't want to hear that. But can I tell somebody that for 10 years, we've been trying to run a business during the summer with a hamster in a cage, and that every time it was cloudy, every time it rained, we not only had poor service, we had no service. Can I put that on record somewhere to say that this is what we've been listening and having to live through in Lubeck for all this time?
Yeah, I think we know that. I mean,
Okay.
we know that people out there have been dealing with that and that there are still people dealing with that. I think if you run your speed even now, it will not be as good as it may well be with this.
Oh, I'm gonna run.
Mark, do you have anything to say is this, what's the one you have?
Usenet.
No, the new one.
Oh, Trail Runner.
Trail Runner. Can you add anything to that about what good is running the speed test at this point? And I'll let Miles kick in too. Oh, can't hear you. You're muted.
Oh, I definitely think you should run a speed test. I don't think it really matters what the service level is. It's going to be well below what the state's minimum standard is now, which is 100 megabits over 100 megabits is what they're looking for, and a symmetrical service. And so the service that fiber is going to provide will meet that standard, and the current service that you have will not. And whether it was Usenet before or Trail Runner now, or even Spectrum, for those who have Spectrum in the room, meeting the symmetrical service standard for Maine is unachievable with the technology being used in those services.
And I have one other thing, particularly for Mr. Willett. Am I correct in assuming that listening to what you were saying about Axiom's commitment to Lubeck, that you're not looking for a minimum number of 300 people on your free sign-up sheet, 350 names before you'll commit to Lubec. It sounds to me like that commitment already is in place. Am I correct on that?
Correct.
Okay.
The concern here with getting the 350, 380, whatever subscribers up front, and what we mean by upfront is
Just
as we get into the build out,
Right.
is that is the point where we break even on being able to pay back any bond we get without using tax money.
Right.
So there's a pucker factor
Yeah.
in getting to that level, which Mark, every time we see the man, tells us is a slam dunk and has happened smoothly in every other place. We've talked to other towns and they all say, oh yeah, I got 75% already signed up, a year in. So while we're concerned about it, we're not panicked about it.
Okay.
Yes,
Why need a cell phone to run the speed test?
no, Miles.
So you can run the speed test for the internet to your phone, and you can also run it for the internet to your home. If you have two different services,
I don't have a cell phone.
You don't have a cell phone? Nope. Okay, then I'll just give you the address. I'll put it on the screen at the end, but it's mainbroadbandcoalition.org. And the first thing you'll see is run the speed test. You can run it for your home address. And if you have multiple services, you can run it on multiple services. That's fine. We see the data of who was providing your internet.
Notice all the headed turns around because I don't have a cell phone. Endangered species.
Peter,
Speaking of the speed test, is there anywhere to input, which is not my situation and it's probably unusual, but certainly one of the pieces of data that you would want to have is, I live out on Boot Cove Road and I have no internet. Is there anywhere to input that data?
Yeah.
Were you
Yeah.
listening?
Yes. Yeah. So when you go to run the speed test, the first thing that will pop up will be options to either enter your exact address, enter a partial address, or enter an address with no available service. So you would want to select that one. And then you can enter the address and it'll record it onto the map as a black dot.
Okay. I would point out that if anybody knows anybody who doesn't have internet at all, that would probably be a really nice piece of data to put in the system.
yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Clara.
Yes, Jane.
I think that we could really make an effort to have other people do this, not just us. Because
Oh, absolutely.
the
Tell
more documentation,
begging, tell all your friends, stop people on the street.
really.
Martha in the back here will tell her I about tripped her this morning. Just met her today, found out her name is the same as mine and told her to come tonight.
But even the school, would the school have the same speed for all computers in it as part of the system?
Probably not. Yeah.
And it's better
The
than
school,
ours.
yeah, the school has a
Yeah,
special,
it has a different connect.
The library has it.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to do the schools and the libraries.
It's
Data
not,
is data, even if it's.
That is
Yeah,
that.
it's-
Even if we show that in town, downtown is good and out in the boonies is not good, this is something we want to know.
They're still committed to broadband. They're not.
Yeah.
They're still on.
the school
The
library.
school,
Yeah.
School and
the
library,
library,
yeah,
and also the medical center.
yeah.
Yeah, and the Maine Connectivity Authority is also starting a project to connect high priority locations like schools and libraries that aren't connected. So submitting that data won't hurt you. If we find places, if Maine Broadband finds places that needs those connections, we're going to be working with
Good.
regional partners like Sunrise and with Maine Connectivity Authority to make sure those places get connected. And that can be other places too, like assisted living facilities or public house that are financed by public dollars, or public housing facilities that are financed by public dollars, anywhere that wouldn't otherwise get connected.
Also, the business idea. The fact of.
Yeah, that it's a business.
For at-home
Oh,
businesses.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the future of this community depends, I think, on that kind of thing. People will people who work from home.
Absolutely.
I can't tell you, it's hard to run a writer. For 10 years, it was worth my life to load large files. I spent a lot of time outside the damn library.
The nice library.
A nice
Nice
library.
library, the library with Wi-Fi.
There's stories like that all over the state. My uncle-in-law moved home to West Peru from California to take care of my grandparents-in-law who are in West Paris. And they could only do that because they could work remotely. And now my grandparents-in-law, who are 93 and 94, are still living in their home. And they have their car, but they don't have to drive anywhere because they're doing all their medical appointments remotely, and they have their son there to take care of them when they need it. So, and that's frankly, I'm from Maine, and I moved back here recently to help take care of my mother, who's still here and who will need that kind of help. And she doesn't want to leave her house, and so she needs this kind of connection in her home too.
Telehealth can be a game changer.
Absolutely, absolutely. More questions? We got another couple minutes, and then Suzette's gonna kick me out. Yes.
Since the timing, primary grant applications to be submitted with state October 22.
October, we're gonna be submitting our request for in October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we were active enough to get Mr. Preston to say we're willing as trusted people to join, is it has to be done by October 20.
I suspect that you would be highly optimistic. We have been pedaling since early summer about as fast as we can pedal to get to this point for ourselves. I suspect you'd be dreaming to think you could make it for October.
Well,
But there are other rounds. I mean, go for the next one. That doesn't mean that if you get funding, we don't get together, form a regional utility that Mark works on the whole thing with us. It does synergies for him, for you, and for us, if we can build it together.
wondering what the potential would be for these outlying communities.
Well,
Yeah, it's actually very good, and it was the reason we wanted to include Truscott and Edmonds in the first place, because our borders are so interwoven that it just makes sense. But everybody seemed to know that except Mr. Preston. So plug it, nag it, whatever it takes.
okay. Dan Wagner has a question.
I'm just gonna take another avenue here, just out of curiosity. I haven't seen yet, and do we have sort of a cost analysis to projected subscribers and how, whether it be positive or negative percentage-wise, to cost of what the town may need, and obviously we don't know yet until we know how much grant money we're gonna receive. The concern being, at least from a town perspective, is that we have a giant septic bill and funding that's gonna happen over the next 25 to 30 years. And that's gonna happen. And so where the potential is to what our subscriber rate and costs are gonna be in relation to leasing spectrum into some areas, who's to say spectrum's not gonna go, oh crap, and let's go do some more roads, or they may just say, well, forget it, we don't care about them anyway. Or they have the fiber on some streets and they increase. I mean, there's just a lot of.
There's a lot of unknowns. Yeah.
Of a cost efficiency, and just from a town, my biggest concern is, right now, we don't know what the dollar is, so in the future, if we can know what the dollar is, because the new system is going to be on the town's.
Let me ask Mark if he's understanding your question more fully than I am. Mark,
Oh,
you still there?
I understand exactly what he's saying.
Yay!
Yeah, I think here's what we've done. We have a 5-year pro forma model of revenue and expenses based on various take rates. And doing that work has allowed us to be able to say to the town, this will be a tax neutral project when we reach the take rates that we have projected. The next question becomes from somebody in the audience will be, well, how do you know you're going to meet those take rates and there's not going to be a shortfall? There's a couple of reasons I can say that I very strongly believe you will make the take rates, and I think Martha alluded to it. One is because I do this for a living, and I've done this in a number of other communities, and I've never not reached the take rate that I've projected for any community I'm working in. And I think that has been verified by Martha and others who wanted to check on Axiom to make sure that I was actually a real company and doing what I say I'm going to do. I say that in the most loving way. And then the second, point to your point is completely understand that there's a potential for Spectrum to do something or to not do something. But that has always been the case in your town. And previous to today, Spectrum has been asked, cajoled, begged, pleaded to do more and to cover those folks who are unserved, and they have repeatedly refused to do that. The third point I would say is that whether Spectrum increases their service or does something in your town is going to be irrelevant to our service, because no matter what Spectrum does, we will have superior service at a better price. So the choices for the community members will be, hey, we can move to a community-backed, community-driven project that supports our community for less money and better, more reliable service, or we can stick with Spectrum, which is what we have now, and pay for Spectrum and support that company. What we found is that overall, that messaging tends to help process in town and move people to support the community-driven process. That said, we are not making any dispersions per se on the Spectrum service that you may or may not have now. That is entirely within your right as a homeowner to keep the service you have now, or to consider the new service that's going to be provided. So, long story short, I have all of the numbers to back up my claims or what I'm saying, and I'm happy to provide them beyond the broadband committee, which has seen these numbers, beyond the broadband committee, so folks can evaluate them more closely and to ask me hard questions about where my numbers come from.
Dan, at some point in the not too distant future, would it be good to have Mark come and visit with the select board? Not to put you on the spot.
Until we have some, I don't think it's necessary until we know the grant money.
Till we get to the grant stage and then.
And as well, because we're not also just dealing with Spectrum, and I know a lot of history of, bad guys been there all the time, they never help, but dollar ends up always talking.
Yes.
We're also dealing, to Frank's point, that you've got several satellite companies that we don't have any data on because they're just getting started, and sort of where their potential is in terms of what they're doing technically speaking, with Musk and everybody else. So it's still early, but I certainly appreciate all the effort that everybody's putting in.
And I'm sorry to say it, but we're past the time that Suzette said we needed to let her get control and turn it over to the select board. So I highly appreciate you all coming. Go home, run speed test, sign up for free subscriber. If you need a digital literacy course, take that. And stay in touch. Okay? Thank you for coming. No, select board. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Did you get one of
I got some quick ones on here.
Thank you.
Yes, so. Yeah. It's the authority. Recipients of that data.